I'm really excited. I hope you guys are too. And that being said, if you guys have any other suggestions of what you want to do as a community, I'm trying to get more community interaction in this kind of stuff. So like someone suggested a free-for-all, which I want to do pretty soon. Definitely we're going to do that. Someone suggested others. Go to the Team Liquid thread, lay down the suggestions there. I'm definitely listening. I'm definitely reading those. And we'll try to see what we can do. Just trying to have some fun here. Pro matches are great and all, but why not have a little bit of fun, a little bit of learning at the same time? So we're going to be on Whirlwind, and I'm going to turn the music on because the music is fantastic. In StarCraft 2, and here we are. Hopefully both these guys have muted the stream, and the idea is after they finish their match, they can watch the VOD and kind of understand. So I'm assuming Mr. Alejandro and Mr. Iloveoov, you're watching the VOD right now. Welcome. I hope you won this game. I hope you did a good job. If you lost, don't worry. With every loss comes more learning, which is a great thing. So don't worry if you lost this game, but I'm going to try to give you some tips to be a better StarCraft player. I also understand there might be some people watching who are relatively new with StarCraft 2, so we're going to keep the commentary open to them so they can kind of learn as well. But in this game, Iloveoov is your teal Terran player in the bottom right-hand location. His opponent is the pink Zerg player, Alejandro, the Spanish rendering of Alexander. Axeltos, how the heck do you know this? Well, first of all, my first name is Alexander. My full first name is Alexander. So I am relatively aware about the Spanish edition of my name, which is Alejandro. Alejandro, hola, ¿cómo estás? Bienvenidos a la partido de StarCraft 2. 2S, amazing. My Spanish is not that good. I know my last name is Rodriguez. People are like, Axeltos, your Spanish should be phenomenal. You have your last name is Rodriguez. It's not. I'm sorry. It was I learned it all in school. But anyway, enough about that. Welcome. So let's take a look at what these guys are doing. The map is Whirlwind. I don't see any glaring problems so far. Both these guys constantly producing workers. We have a command center here in the main base. A little bit risky, but it's on the high ground. Some players go crazy and put it on the low ground. But Iloveoov just be like, all right, I'm going to put it on the high ground. We'll see what happens. Placing a barracks down there as well. Cool. Very standard stuff. Playing very economically. It's not like he's opening up with a billion barracks and the gas. Just now getting the gas, which is fine. Checking for the Overlord up here with the SCV. That's really fancy, Iloveoov. Are you a pro player? Is there something you are not telling us? Of course, Iloveoov is actually the name. Oh, he said call me Feed Me. Why am I calling him Feed Me? I guess I'm calling him Feed Me. But Iloveoov is the name of a famous Brood War player. So I guess I'll call him Feed Me from now on, so people are confused. Feed Me equals Iloveoov. Alright, let's see what the pink Zerg player Alejandro is doing. We share a name. Looks like he's getting a gas in a spawning pool, so wanting to get a relatively early speed. Now, it's a little bit interesting, Mr. Alejandro. What you could potentially do is drone scout if you want, but again, it's tricky on a map like Whirlwind. But if you can identify your opponent is going for this early command center, you can do something crazy, like get a really fast third hatchery or something like that. But I respect your decision to play very safe. Getting this early gas is to get that early speed out. But once you get 100, I would like to see those drones come off of gas. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. He still has some room to work with. But since his opponent is opening up with this very economic-minded build, this very fast expansion here on the high ground, Alejandro should know that he's going to be relatively safe against early shenaniganry from the Terran player. Because if they're investing a lot into their economy, they're not investing a lot into their army. They're not going to have a huge standing army as well. Let's look at your Overlord here. So you scouted the SCV and then kind of backed away. I guess I'm okay with that. Maybe peeking a little bit further forward and spotting this gas would be a nice thing. Seeing that it's not there can be a valuable asset. Also, an Overlord eventually getting in this area would be nice as well. Maybe going all across the map. Overlord placement is very important in ZVT. An Overlord right here is fine because you can cover drops as well. So I really like this placement. And it looks like this Overlord is being very proactive as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. You have some links coming across. Now, Iloveoov, let's see what you're up to. Let's talk about your point of view for a second. You got a natural command center. You got your factory. Oh, you're getting a third command center. So I guess I'm passively okay with this. This is a little bit dangerous if your opponent is going for a crazy rush of sorts. So perhaps a scan or something to identify, okay, what is my opponent up to? Get some units across the map, try to identify, okay, is he sending a bunch of Ling Baneling stuff at me? Is he sending a bunch of roaches at me? Is he trying to kill me? Because what you're doing right now is very economic-minded. It's not very army-minded, right? Going for the very fast third command center, only one gas, don't have a lot of production facilities. So over the next 3 to 4 minutes, there's going to be a pretty gaping window where you can be killed. And at this point in time, I'm a little worried because Alejandro is still mining a lot of gas. Let's look at his income really quick. He's only at 34 drones, and he's still mining gas. So Alejandro, since you're mining all this gas, you probably want to do something with it, especially considering what your opponent is doing. Your opponent is going for a very fast natural, very fast third. Being able to identify this would be phenomenal for you. At this point, I would even sacrifice this Overlord, replace it with this guy. 7-minute mark is probably a pretty good time for that. Identify the third base, and then you can be like, okay, I can really focus on the drones. Because right now, your main goal is going to be, I want a high drone count. That's exactly what I want. And right now, you're only at 39. And when your opponent is going for a really economic build like this, it's much better to have a very high drone count, unless you're going for an all-in type build where you're trying to break your opponent. But again, that window is going to close fairly soon. Iloveoov coming forward with these Hellions. Okay, this is good. Keeping those weakened Hellions alive. That's a really good job, Mr. Feed Me, I guess you wanted to be referred to as. Trying to stop up creep is good. And then Alejandro, what you can kind of identify with this is like, all right, no Widow Mines. There haven't been any drops. No drops have come in. I've only seen Hellions. So you can kind of guess that he's pretty economic minded. I think that's kind of going through your mind right now as you have an Overlord here at this third base, checking on that, even sending an Overlord in this location, trying to find out, okay, what is my opponent exactly doing? Meanwhile, oh, let's look at the scan, see what Mr. Iloveoov saw. That's a pretty good scan. I approve of that scan, Mr. Feed Me. Scouting the Roach Warren, scouting the lair. What can you really... Oh, did you see the Spire? Okay, so you didn't necessarily see the Spire. Can you guess it? Not necessarily. Oh no! You do not want to get your Hellions surrounded, Mr. Feed Me. Those are your most important units. Pretty much your only units on the map right now. And the same token is, Alejandro, if you feel like, if you surround those Hellions and kill them and you feel like you can do some damage, not a bad decision to try to make that happen, because that's the only attacking use. But again, that window is slowly closing. Once these barracks get up, once this stim finishes, once medevacs get out, this window is pretty gone as far as being aggressive on your opponent who's on 2 bases. So continuing forward, Alejandro, what I would do is really get that drone count up. That's so important at this point in time. You're only at 54. You could be at 70 right now because your opponent has been very passive. You can identify this third command center pretty fast. He only sent a few Hellions across the map. He hasn't been dropping, and you actually surrounded a couple of those Hellions as well. A great time to get all your 3 bases saturated, and then you can start doing the fun stuff, getting a bunch of units out. But I can see you're being really safe right now, which is fine. So I'm not very critical of that, but it would be great to have 70 or so drones right now, 70, 75. That would be fantastic for you right now. Unfortunately, you simply don't have that count yet, which you're starting to build up to. So it's a situation where if you've been able to scout this third command center, if you can identify your opponent's really going economic-minded, that's a situation where you can really try to saturate those bases as fast as possible. Because look at this mineral line. Well, it looks like you're about to transfer some, which is very good. But again, your economy could have been much better a little bit earlier and then make these units a little bit later. As far as a reason to have these Lings and Banelings, not a huge deal at all. You're playing really safe, which is fine, but just something to improve going forward. All right. 1 Muta doing his own thing. 2 Mutas doing their own thing. Okay, Alejandro, you need to get your Mutas together, man. To get your Mutas together. I like how you have your Overseer here watching out. Iloveoov, great response time. Excuse me, Feed Me, great response time on putting those turrets down. A little bit, another turret here would be nice. Maybe rally your Marines in this location. Great counterattack. Alejandro, I love the idea behind this. Denying this third command center while being aggressive with those Mutas in the main. And now, Mr. Feed Me, you're going to be spread out a little bit. So you need to try to get your units together to deal with this. You need to split up those units. A lot of Marines, a lot of Lings and Banelings though. So you got to be careful about that. But you're doing a pretty good job. You're staying on top of your upgrades. That's really good. Many lesser players, as that aggression is happening, they're gonna be like, all right, I can't worry about upgrades right now. It's too stressful. But you did a great job. You have the armory done. You're going into 2-2. I love that decision. Good job. Great job, Mr. Feed Me. Great job indeed. So Alejandro, what's on your mind right now? Well, you just denied that third base a little bit, and you're taking this 4th at the top, which is great. Your drone count is getting up there. It's only at 58 still, though. Again, I would love to see a lot more drones in the field, because now it's going to be a little bit tough getting drones out and units, especially considering this is coming across the map. So if you had a higher drone count earlier, it'd be much easier to defend against this drop. We see a scan, and you kind of want to hit here. Yes, perfect. You want to hit right when those Banelings morphed in. In the future, good, decent splitting. In the future, feed me, make these banelings a little bit further back. No, not a huge reason to build him here. You want him to get deep on a creep anyway. No reason not to build those banelings back here. Save some of those resources. Good job. Continue to counterattack with the mutas. And feed me. It's okay to have a turret in your natural expansion. That's definitely not a bad thing. So maybe a turret here, maybe a turret here, especially because you know those mutas are on the field. This can be very scary and annoying. See, a bunch of SCVs aren't mining. Looks like you're getting a little bit exasperated coming into this third base. Pretty good splitting there. Marines trying to get split up. The Widow Mine dropping down. Great micro. Feed me. Great micro. And Alejandro, a quick note on that. Try to peel away those lings if you identify there's a Widow Mine in the composition. Peel away a ling or two to try to absorb that damage. And this game is starting to turn crazy. It's starting to turn super crazy. Oh my god, no! Alejandro. You gotta keep track of your mutas, man. You just lost so many mutas. I'm not sure that was worth it. Your mutas are so important. Units lost is 7,000 to 3,000 is units lost in favor of the feed me. He's taking out the fourth, he's taking out the, this game might be over soon. And this kind of fell apart. I think this started with a lack of drones in the beginning, because then there's a lot of desperation when you're trying to advance into the lings and banelings and mutas. And your drone count isn't incredible, so you're not going to be able to defend this attack. Especially considering you lost all those mutas. Those mutas are so important to keep harassing, keep doing damage to the economy, come back, kill medevacs, and it looks like Feed Me is going to take the victory. Great job, great job, great job, Mr. Feed Me. But Alejandro, you had a lot of good ideas. You had a lot of good ideas, but the main focus of that game is, let's identify exactly what my opponent is doing. Is he going for a very fast third command center? Because if he's going for a very fast third command center, there's no reason to really stray away from the drones until you feel like that scary timing is coming, as far as the, you know, the 5-6 barracks with medevacs, with a bunch of add-ons on each of them. The other thing is that attack you send on the third, like the exception is unless you're doing an attack to try to exploit that little window that you can destroy him. You got to make one of two decisions. Either one, be economic yourself, expand everywhere, get a bunch of drones out, or two, go for a pretty heavy attack that does enough damage in that little that timing window where he's vulnerable because he's going for the faster command center. You kind of did that by attacking his third base, the lings and banelings, but you know it wasn't really worth it. And then he just kind of counterattacked because he didn't lose many units, and then Alejandro, you lost all those mutas, which is that's not a good feeling at all. But thank you for participating, Mr. Feed Me and Alejandro. Hopefully you watch the VOD, and hopefully it is beneficial to you. Hopefully people watching at home are learning some stuff as well. But coming up next, we have another match lined up between two community members. If you want to get involved, join channel MLG on the America server. Again, we're taking games from the community, we're casting them, kind of coaching in a sense, identifying the rights and the wrongs of the players, trying to help these guys become better StarCraft 2 players. Axel Toss will be back with the next match after a quick break.